In this video, we're going to be looking at something really interesting. It is an ESV Thinline Trutone Bible. It's unique. Now, ESV Thinline Bibles are very common. They've been common for a long time. But one thing that is unique about this is from, I think it was printed in 2008. So it's now technically from the decade before last. So it's just interesting to compare the production of something like this compared to what you see today. But there's something else unique about it that I'm going to show you, but let's just start with the box. And I don't think they make boxes like this now. It has a window in the front so you can see if the Bible was in there, but I'm saving showing you the Bible till a little bit later. First I want to show the box. It does say here that it has a 9.5 type, which sounds good, but when we get inside, you'll see that is debatable whether that's really accurate. This one has introductions to each book, which is part of what is unique about this. We'll see that. Another interesting thing as you look at different time periods is just to see who the endorsements are from, and that does change over time. So you'll see there might be some people endorsing that would not be used now for various reasons. And there is on the back here the actual type size. So if you were looking at this in a store on the shelf, you pulled it off the shelf, this would just quickly show you about how large the type is. This one retailed for about $35 when it came out. So let's look at this. As I said, it is a Thinline and it is a Trutone cover, which doesn't sound too unusual until you see what the cover actually looks like. And so on the side of the box here, it says that it is a red, white, and blue wave design. So there you go. It's the red, white, and blue Bible cover. And this is actually, I was wondering about this. I saw this on eBay. It was a good price, and I was just really curious about it. And I thought it'd be interesting to show on my channel, both for when it was produced, but also its uniqueness in production. And it's from a particular ministry, or it's associated, it has materials from a certain ministry, and there's a hint to that on the front here. Now, it's not technically a patriotic ministry, although you might think that. And I'm kind of puzzled as to why they went so far as to use red, white, and blue on the cover, other than, I guess, to make a statement and just to promote what this is about. But it says here, the Calling America Back to the Bible. So there's actually here a hint as to which ministry this is associated with. If you look at this title, you'll see when we get inside that this correlates with a certain ministry. So it's Calling America Back to the Bible. That's what's on the cover. And that is printed in gold, or overlaid in gold. And this has white perimeter stitching, which goes along with this color scheme. The Trutone is actually different than what I've felt in more recent years. This actually has much more of a, in some ways, a softer feel, grainy feel, and does feel a lot like real leather. Here's the spine. So it is a unique Bible, as I said. And when you get inside, you'll see it is a paper paste down, bright blue. The pages also are gold gilt page edges. And it has a single ribbon, red, and it is double-sided. I would say actually it's pretty nice ribbon. Feels really nice. And then you have, it looks like red and gold head and tail bands. But as I said, inside you have the paper paste down. This one has not only a presentation page, but also some family records pages, the title page, And here you see is the publisher title page with the specific edition we're looking at. They call this here the Calling America Back Bible. The interesting thing, though, is when you get inside and you look at the copyright page here, it says Calling America Back to the Bible. English Standard Version, copyright 2007. It's almost like they can't decide on exactly what they want to call it. But here is where you see the ministry that is related to the production of this Bible. It says, Introduction excerpted from Taking Back the Good Book, How America Forgot the Bible and Why It Matters to You, by Woodrow Kroll. Portions of the material at the beginning of each book of the Bible are taken from Read Your Bible, One Book at a Time, by Woodrow Kroll. Material on pages 1109 through 1122 by Back to the Bible, all rights reserved. So Back to the Bible is the ministry that produced some extra materials for this Bible. Woodrow Kroll is the author, and he was a teacher for Back to the Bible ministry. I do remember hearing him years ago on the radio, and I'm curious how many of you are familiar with that ministry. Let me know in the comments if you've heard Woodrow Kroll on the radio in years past. Now, he's no longer with that ministry, but I remember hearing him, I think, back in the 90s. This particular edition was printed actually in '07. So I said earlier '08, but it's actually '07. It's the first printing of 2007, I believe. And this is the 2007 text edition. So this would have been one of the earlier printings of the 2007 update of the ESV. And you see here in the contents page what extra materials you have at the beginning. You have a book introduction and then an article called Taking Back the Good Book. You do have book introductions for each of the books. Again, they are supplied by Back to the Bible Ministry. And I think Woodrow Kroll is the author. And then you have some extra material in the back as well. And really the goal of this Bible was just to get people to read the Bible, encourage them to read the Bible. So it would have been good for someone who's maybe a new Christian or someone who grew up in a Christian background and is now kind of finding their way back. Also has the books of the Bible in alphabetical order. Here's the Bible introduction by Woodrow Kroll. And then you have Taking Back the Good Book. So really, I mean, all Bibles and all products are reminiscent of their time that they were created in. And you see that if you read this article in detail, that maybe things that are said in this article, some of the things contextually wouldn't fit quite as much with today. 14, 15 years later as I'm recording this. Although a lot of it is still really applicable to today. There's a lot of good things actually in here from what I can see. And again, it's just encouraging people to actually read their Bible. He talks about biblical illiteracy and the fact that people might respect the Bible, but they don't read it. Here is the Old Testament title page. And I was so curious, what does the format look like in an ESV from 2007? Well, before I show you that, there is a book introduction here. And you see, these are really designed, again, for someone who's probably newer to the Bible. It says why you should read this book. If you don't read Genesis, here's what you'll miss. Key things to look for. Did you know? And then general information. But actually, this is really good stuff for all of us. I think it's nice to have just simple, short introductions in certain Bibles. Other Bibles, you can have a lot of information, but something like this, it's nice just to have a snapshot of what you're looking at. So here it is, a 2007 ESV format. This is Thinline. I actually, in looking at this, don't think they've changed a whole lot. I'll look at something that's printed more recently and compare it to this, but just quickly, you see here the headings are in bold print. This says it's a 9.5 font. To me, it doesn't look like it reads that large. The line spacing is good though. And I don't think I mentioned this before, but one of the cool things about this is that it was printed in Belgium. Now, honestly, I think that was just more common during this time period for Bibles to be printed in Belgium. I know there were Bibles in the late 90s, early 2000s that were printed in Belgium. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's the highest quality paper, but it's pretty good, and the ghosting isn't too bad. It's not line matched, of course, being from this time period. That doesn't surprise me. The verse numbers are pretty bold and easy to find. So let's get to the poetry and just look at how that looks. And it's okay. Again, it's not line matched, but the ghosting isn't too bad. So I would say it's really similar to probably a lot of ESV thin lines that you see today. Here's another book introduction for the book of Proverbs. I will say, by the way, I really like the form factor of a Bible like this. Very easy to hold. And it's not a large print Bible. It's not advertised as one, but the print is a decent size. I'm just not sure I would call it a 9.5. When you get to the New Testament, you have the title page. Another book introduction. And the text for the words of Christ in this are red letter. So that would make some people very happy and other people not so happy, depending on your preference. I do find that the red is not as easy to read, maybe in certain places especially. But actually, you know, it is printed quite well. I've definitely seen worse than this. And overall, I'd say it's a pretty readable red print. Also, I think these translator notes are the full set of translator notes for the ESV on the bottom. All right, and then after the book of Revelation, you have helps for getting started. So it talks about if you're getting started on the path to knowing God through His Word, or you'd like something to help you along the way, here are some practical tools. Daily benefits. Making time. So again, just encouraging people to read the Word of God. And after a few extra helps there, they do also have some reading plans, a Get Me Started reading plan through the book of John, a Start Anytime Bible reading schedule, and that would get a person through the Bible in a year. Then they have a chronological Bible reading schedule. So this takes you through the Bible and read the events of the Bible in the order that they occurred. And that will take you through in 1 year. Then at the very end, you have the introduction to the English Standard Version. So that's a little unusual. Usually I've seen the introductions in the front, the translation introduction typically in the front. Here it's in the back. Then after that, you do have some blank Bible paper. And here are the maps on a glossy cardstock. And after the maps, you have the end sheet. And I will say that blue and the color of the maps really clashes badly, in my opinion. So one flaw in the color design of this Bible. But I'm sure people are going to have mixed opinions about the way that this was designed. It's interesting, though. It's an interesting piece of history. I want to show it, though, compared to a more recent ESV Thinline. And actually, what you're going to notice is their form factor is pretty much the same. Very similar thickness. But what's interesting is when you get into both of these here, you're going to see the new one that I have is actually a large print. So to me, that really shows you what they have done in recent years. This large print is easy to read. It's got a good size font, and yet it's really the same size as the thin line that we've been looking at. Now I will say, when you get into poetry, the large print Bible does have quite a bit of noticeable ghosting, but it's line matched, so that helps. And if you pull the page a little bit away from the previous page, that also helps a lot with the ghosting. So it's not too much of a problem, and really what you're getting is a very readable Bible with the same size format as a regular thin line. Now this is not a reference large print. It's not a large print reference Bible, just the regular large print. I also think that the translator notes are probably more of a minimalist set of translator notes as opposed to a more full set of translator notes. And then also another difference would be in the New Testament, this thin line that we've been looking at is red letter text. The New Testament in the large print is a black letter text for the words of Christ. So again, I actually think in many ways that's an advantage. This is just a very consistently readable Bible. And many of you know, if you've been watching my channel, that I love these large print thin lines from Crossway. So to me, it really reinforced just how nice of a format these large print Bibles are. The fact that they're really the same size as this older ESV Thinline, but with nice large print. Very impressive. Now the covers, in terms of the look of the cover, I mean, this one's hard to compare because it's the red, white, and blue. But if it was brown and it had that similar grain pattern to it and feel to it, I would actually say a brown cover like this feels even better than this more recent trutone cover. This definitely seems imitation, but it looks nice. And it definitely does the job. As long as it holds up, it's fine. Both of them are going to be that paper paste down liner. So for the price point, and actually this new one might be cheaper than what the original price point on the 2007 edition was. And that might be because this one is printed in China versus printed in Belgium. But honestly, that paper is pretty similar in quality in terms of the look of it. Probably more show through in this, but they had to get more pages into this Bible. So there you go. That's a look at a 2007 unique Bible, the Calling America Back to the Bible in red, white, and blue cover. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Does this sound like a good thing to you? What did you think of the inside material? Anything that you'd like to comment about this Bible, I'd love to hear that in the comment section. But thank you so much for taking a look at this with me from A Frisch Perspective.